Hopefully this video can act as a teachable moment for online supporters of the Liberal Party of Canada and Justin Trudeau. If you've taken an obvious loss, do not keep talking about that obvious loss for days on end. And definitely do not try and argue that the Conservative win is secretly a loss if you squint hard and long enough at it. All that's going to do is make you look desperate and pathetic, and also put more attention onto the obvious loss that your political side took. The perfect example of this is the unhinged Liberal reaction to Conservative MP Michelle Ferreri's petition calling for a no confidence vote in the Liberal government. Now, this petition didn't just get a lot of signatures, it got a record-setting amount of signatures. It has over 380,000 signatures after it closed, and you know that this means a lot because if you know anything about petitions, it's almost impossible to get anyone to take a parliamentary petition seriously. But there's a bunch of Liberal supporters online who want to argue that not only is this petition secretly evil or bad, but also it's not impressive at all, even though most petitions can barely clear 20,000 signatures, while this one got, almost 1% of the entire country's population to sign it. Again, petitions aren't enforceable. They don't have to have a House of Commons no confidence vote in Trudeau's government because it had a certain amount of signatures. All the government I think has to do is acknowledge that the petition exists, and that's it. And obviously what this was meant to do was just to show how negatively Canadians view the Liberal government. Almost 1% of people signing a petition is massive, and that represents probably multiple times the amount of signatories in people who are going to be voting against the Liberal government, and it's probably not people who are going to be voting for the NDP or the Greens. This petition obviously demonstrates that the Liberals are in a terrible position, and they are not going to be crawling back in the polls. But there's this great post that a Liberal Party supporter made that is so unhinged, it's so long, and it's such an own goal. I just want to break it down today. But right before I do that, I just need to make a quick shameless plug that I, Wyatt Claypool, I'm running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. It hasn't been called yet. We don't know when the date of it's going to be. There's a lot of people running for it, but I am an actual real conservative who actually lives in the riding running for it. So if you happen to live in this riding, make sure you have a Conservative Party membership and you vote for me number one on your ballot. Make sure all your friends and family who live in the riding have memberships. I have my campaign website linked in the description of this video, so go check that out. If you live in Calgary, check which riding you live in and buy a membership regardless so you can vote on whatever nomination race ends up happening in your riding, especially if you live in Calgary Signal Hill, my riding. Anyways, so this post was absolutely crazy, and I had a lot of fun reading the first little bits of it, but now I want to go a bit more in detail. I'll make sure I'm a little bit bigger on screen, but this is the post that I'm reading by Mr. Rod Wutherick, and he literally tagged Michelle Ferreri in this, acting as if this was going to be a big embarrassing moment for her, this unhinged rant he goes on. So he starts off saying, well, that Michelle Ferreri petition sure did well, huh? Canadians' dumbest politician, our own Marjorie Taylor Greene, managed to get 386,698 people. Dude, first of all, do not bring attention to how successful the petition was. It's not going to make you look good. It's only going to highlight the fact that you seem unhinged for getting mad at this, and you're obviously just mad at the impact the petition had. He then goes on to say, the biggest ever, they said. Well, that's literally true. I predicted around 1% exactly here 2 weeks ago. They sure showed us how badly people want Trudeau to go, huh? This shows perfectly why the Conservatives are panicking and throwing mud. Epstein this, inflammatory spending or inflationary spending that, Nazi here, Nazi there, Nazis in your underwear. What is this man going on about? Don't start invoking Nazis and thinking that, which Conservative MPs have been talking about Epstein? I don't even know what this guy's on about, but for some reason, he just kind of conflates any conservative voice online with the Conservative Party of Canada. Sorry, moving on. He goes on, that is 0.9667%. Devastating. It literally is devastating. How many people participate in parliamentary petitions? What percentage of Canadians have ever signed a parliamentary petition? I guarantee you it's probably only around 10% of people who ever have. And a significant portion of everyone who's ever signed a petition signed this one. It would have been a big show of force for Justin Trudeau if this petition only got 50,000 signatures. The fact that it got 386,000 signatures means something. Just because it's not enforceable doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything. And you can tell it means something because this guy decided to make this like novel of a Twitter post about it. Sorry, going on to the next part. He said, "Way to go. You would think on the biggest Trudeau hater platform on the planet, you could get a whole percent, 1% of the population." It's not the biggest anti-Trudeau platform on the planet or biggest Trudeau hater platform. It's literally the parliamentary website. And to be clear, you actually have to like give all of your information over in order to sign a parliamentary petition. You have to give like your address, phone number, email, your full name, legal name, all that stuff to verify that you're a real person signing it. This is not like a change.org petition where you just have to click a button and it adds your signature. This is a significant petition that must be addressed in Parliament. It's not just some random Twitter hated, like Trudeau hating website. It's the literal Parliament of Canada's website. Although I would like to think that the parliamentary website itself hates Trudeau. So, okay, going on to the next part. This perfectly matches the actual support of the Freedomers convoy. About 1% of Canadians thought it was warranted, but it was actually more like 40%. And even then, the people who opposed the convoy, probably most of them didn't really care all that much. They don't really care that parliamentarians had to be a little bit more uncomfortable at work for a couple weeks. This perfectly matches the actual support of the Freedomers convoy. About 1% of the Canadians thought it was warranted. The other 99% of Canadians are tired of all your S. Your minds are full of foul, low-grade prairie insults, political and economic ignorance. We are so tired of your BS polls, BS attacks on your own country, on your fellow Canadians here. It's relentless and willful. How many of you would bet that if I went through this guy's timeline long enough, he was making fun of Aaron O'Toole's Conservative Party for not doing very well in the polls against Justin Trudeau? I love it whenever people hate the polls are fake, and then they get one good poll result, and the polls are suddenly real. Also, even when he was referencing the supposed only 1% of support for the Freedom Convoy, he was referencing the polling about it that showed that a majority of people didn't like the Freedom Convoy. So does he like polls, or does he not like polls? But he's pretending as if this petition is like a signature. This petition is a poll, and that 1% of people signing it means that the other 99% people didn't sign it, like must like Trudeau. But this is where this guy has ended up in life, pretending that the lack of signatures or the deficit of signatures to the population equals wild support for Justin Trudeau. That's why he can't get his own supporters to pick up the phone and say they like Trudeau in actual polls that are being done by reputable companies. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Hopefully I won't pause too much now. Tired of, this is going back to Mr. What is his name? Rod's post. Tired of your hypocrites who write "love the Lord" in their info. These are usually the worst haters and the most foul of them all here. I haven't been impressed with those who practice their faith since I was a teenager. Oh, wow, cool, man. You have some college atheist who's gonna, I guess we've all like gotten dunked on because this guy doesn't care about faith or something. I thought many of you were fake then. I feel the same after a lifetime of experience. Churches need to start paying taxes on everything. Their land and their profits, if any, is left from their rapidly dying loss of membership. Here is where Christian prairie people should support immigration. If it weren't for mass immigration, I would suspect you could have closed double the number of churches in the past 10 years. Okay, whoa. Is this person saying that he thinks immigrants are stupid religious people? Because he just implied, or heavily, not even implied, he just said that religious people are dumb and ignorant. And then he's basically saying, well, your church memberships nearly wouldn't be as high unless we had all these dumb, ignorant immigrants coming to the country. The resentment is really boiling through this guy's post. And guys, he's not mad. You're mad. He's not desperate. You're desperate. Whatever. Okay. Moving on. Immigration is all that keeps these churches alive. The white replacement theory will be seen in your churches first. Okay, dude, settle down. You're sounding like Nick Fuentes or a white supremacist here. Most Canadians will 100% support what will happen if they try another convoy again this spring. It will cost Canadians much in law enforcement. The fact is that these tubby prairie boys will be diverted in every province. Okay, Rod, stop pretending to be tough. Also, what convoy is happening again? There's no lockdowns, there's no mandates. That's why the convoy happened. Were elements of the convoy and the parking on public property for multiple days illegal? Yes, it was also in response to what was very, very, very likely unconstitutional, charter violating mandates and lockdowns. No farm trucks or semi-trailers will ever shut down Canada again. Watch. Okay, dude, it's been literally 2 years since the convoy. I think you can take like an Advil and settle down. Going back to this time, if any vehicles block public areas, Canadians should lose their trucks, which should be sold for cost recovery, minimum 1 year in jail, and fine starting at $10,000. Sounds right. We will give them 1,000 off the fine for every IQ point they can score above 90. This means guys, Rod's such a smart man. He's so smart, and he's. That's anyone who starts trying to question the intelligence of other people in this in this crazy unhinged style of a post is usually not going to be a particularly smart person themselves. We will give them $1,000 off the fine for every IQ point they can score above 90. This would mean if they made it up to 100, considering average IQ, they would beat the fine. I would expect that the government would owe people money if that was how it worked. I assume that most of the truckers have a higher IQ than 100. If freedomers took IQ tests, they would struggle to get 90, 60, 70, considering mildly mentally handicapped. Okay, so now he's very ableist too. The average freedomer from the prairies would score in the low to mid 80s. There is a little chance they would score higher. This is a really weird rabbit hole where he's now talking about IQ scores, and he's sounding a lot like a eugenicist. I have seen what they rate on X now. The comprehension level of my LLM analyzer gives me them is a grade 4 to 6 comprehension level. These freedomers are cheering Germany. The German farmers did the same thing here. They protested. They protested not for their country, but for their own perks. Farmers and truckers the world over are making themselves look like foolish, self-interested tease. I don't want to say any vulgar language on here. None of you are fooling anyone. The poll above shows just how little support you have. What poll? What poll? There's no poll. It was a petition. This man has convinced himself over the course of this very intelligent man, over the course of this post, has lost track of what he's even talking about. Is it the petition or is it a poll? Petitions are not polls. I guarantee you this man has signed petitions in the past. Does he think that because the entire country did not sign his petition that it was unpopular? I don't think he would think that, because that's absurd. It's actually good I'm not showing the post too big on screen because he's swearing quite a bit, and I don't exactly want that in my video. Anyways, getting back to Rod's very, very high IQ post. Don't worry, all of you. We know how you work now, and you'll be forever divided and diverted. Also, is this guy just voluntarily not going to go to any stores that truckers provide resources for? Because he seems to have a very deep animus against people who literally make his life easier than anyone else in his life does. Yes, please, another freedom convoy in 2024. We would love to see you outsmart Canada this time with your stunning 80 intellects and self-interest. We want you to save money in Alberta. You want to save money in Alberta, Saskatchewan? Sask has the lowest life expectancy and highest rate of morbid obesity in Canada. Alberta next. 40%, 44% of Sask taxes go to healthcare costs. Literally the oldest population in the country. Obviously, a lot of their money goes towards healthcare. It also is the best healthcare system in the country, so I don't think this is the gotcha he thinks it is. I'll never see so many overweight people in my life. You all are trying to tear down our democracies over vaccines, when the fact is you from these host provinces are 10,000 or whatever, I don't really care to read the number, times more likely to die from lifestyle choices than from a vaccine. Walk to Quebec, read a book, lose that A, and fix the Canada. Dude, man, just imagine actually posting that and thinking that it's the Conservatives that are desperate. These people, obviously Rod and the Liberals are winning. That's why he is foaming at the mouth, freaking out over a petition that even he acknowledges doesn't actually do anything. And Michelle Ferreri would acknowledge it doesn't actually do anything other than demonstrate support. The fact that he's trying to argue 386,000 people is not enough, and then goes on this tirade about how people who live in the west side of the country are stupid, is really demonstrable about the bubble that I think a lot of Liberal supporters, like the hardcore supporters, there's a lot of people who vote Liberal because, Chrétien was better back in the day and whatnot, but the hardcores seem to not be voting for the Liberals because of their good policies. I do not see these people arguing in favor of Liberal policies online, and I haven't seen them do it for several years because the Liberal policies are not working. All they do is basically insult you and pretend as if you're mad, I'm not mad, you're crying, I'm not crying. That's all that they do these days. It's just trying to dunk on conservatives, or they're almost stumping against conservatives having nice things. It really is the stereotype that they would be okay with the poor being poorer as long as conservatives were also less, like, we're also poorer. They just want like mutually assured destruction. These people do not want Canada to be more unified or have, like, Canadians to have a better standard of living. They just want you to suffer more than they are. And man, that part about immigrants, dude, that would get you put on a list if you are a conservative voter. You would get a lot of articles written about you, but I guess this man, a liberal, a proud liberal, or maybe an NDP supporter, proud liberal left-wing voter, thinks immigrants are stupid, and that's why they're religious. Or maybe it's because they have actual values and they don't post about how much they hate other people online and go on long tirades, misunderstanding how petitions work. Guys, the very smart man, what is his name? Rod Wutherick, which I will post this link in the description of the video so you can go check out his post and you can read it for yourself closer up. This man, who probably assumes he's a deeply intelligent person, doesn't understand what a petition is or what a parliamentary petition does. I guarantee he's signed Liberal petitions, NDP petitions in the past, yet for some reason this petition is illegitimate. And there's also been Liberals out there who are freaking out, pretending as if Michelle Ferreri is going to steal their information because they signed this petition. Parliamentary petitions do not, like, the data from them does not go towards any party or any individual MP. They are not allowed to take that data, or obviously people would be putting up petitions all day long in order to just skim data for their political parties. But that's the kind of what they're at now, is pretending as if this petition is somehow trying to steal their online information. Here's a post. Here's this guy, Byron Bailey said, I read just yesterday that the petition being done for Ari Lewis and that may be done going forward are simply there to mine emails addresses by the con so they can send out mailers and requests for money. That sounds very possible. It's literally impossible. You are not legally allowed to do that. But anyways, that's pretty much it for me today. I've ranted long enough. I'll just quickly plug, I do have my legal fundraiser linked in the description of this video below. It's a Give, Send, Go link. I'm being sued by a Chinese billionaire. It's a completely illegitimate lawsuit. It's just a frivolous lawsuit to try and shut myself and the National Telegraph up. We're winning it, but it's cost me more than $25,000 to fight back. So if you contribute any money to that, it really helps reduce the burden of my legal costs. And then other than that, obviously, I'm also running for the Conservative Party of Canada's nomination for Calgary Signal Hill. So yet again, if you live in that riding, check out my website, buy a Conservative Party membership, sign up for the emails, and just get engaged with my campaign, hopefully. And also, I will link in Leslie Lewis's anti-UN petition also in the description of this video below. I think it's deeply important. I don't think Canada has to pull itself out of the UN. I wish we would just slash the amount of money we give to the UN. But I think it's good for us to question what use we even get out of the UN these days, considering that, supposedly it's crazy that Leslie Lewis proposed that we would leave the UN, but none of these Liberal MPs, consultants, or online supporters can justify a single thing that the UN actually does well. Yes, it facilitates international relations. We would do that on our own if the UN didn't exist. The UN, if it was a glorified meeting space in San Francisco for different countries to have their diplomats meet, that'd be fine. But that's obviously not what the UN is simply meant to do. It does a lot of stupid meddling in other countries' own policy decisions. It pushes a lot of left-wing policy beliefs into the mainstream, and I think it's been fairly toxic over the past 50 years when it comes to not being able to secure any peace. At the same time, it pushes for policy solutions or issues that we should be taking seriously that are either not in our country's best interest or are actually actively toxic to our national sovereignty and economies. So anyway, sorry making this a super long video. Hopefully you found it entertaining, and I'll be back in another video, hopefully either later today or tomorrow.